Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I'm Brendan Lee. In this video, I want to talk to you about a spiritual path, or your spiritual path, or spiritual paths in general. This video is a little bit inspired by my own investigations into my own suffering and looking into my own life. And what I mean by that is as I continue to consider and look into and become more conscious of and aware of what I have going on in my own mind that relates to, say, how much I suffer. Basically, the more I look, the more I find that I suffer many things, and I'm starting to discover how I'm creating the suffering and where it comes from and all this stuff. And one place that maybe people don't look is I want to invite you to consider the consequences of having a spiritual path. It would behoove me to investigate what that really is. I hear from others in other domains that are on what they would call a spiritual path, or, oh, I'm on my path, or I want to speak my truth, or I want to live in my own truth, and blah, blah, like just enter your dogma or whatever there, see whatever you're into. I've noticed there's some fucking consequences. All right? That's what I'm trying to say. There's consequences to doing that. What I mean is, for example, I remember when something was really clear to me or made clear to me through my own investigation. Take a look at this. How do you square what you have going on with the fact that you're going to die? How does that fit into your path? There's only one place that every physical body is going, and that's to death. That's where this ends. Okay? You will not get around that. Nobody's gotten out of here alive. Every spiritual teacher who's ever talked about spiritual stuff has died, their body rotted, and goodbye. Everybody, every powerful person who has ever lived to attain power their entire life, and maybe they do, has died. Every evil person who has ever lived, who has done evil things and terrible things, has died. Every saint, every good person who has done great things has died. All people die. There's not a single person that does not die. So how do you fit that with your path? All right? And so now, from the context of consciousness work and questioning and investigating the consequences, and also with a slight push to eradicate suffering, which we hear tell is in the Buddhist traditions, like, hey, help people alleviate some suffering. I'm about to do some bodhisattva type crap with you. See, help you consider something so that maybe you can get free from your own suffering if it does indeed exist. And of course, the spirit of the work is, don't just take what I say on faith. You need to look into it and figure out what's actually true. I'm going to assert that there are consequences to having a path or a spiritual path. And so you tell me if there's suffering there. It looks to me like being committed to thinking that I should be some way, and then if I'm not that way, well, then I'm on the wrong path, and then that's somehow bad and wrong of me. Now who's suffering? I would assert that's a painful experience, and it's unnecessary. Why? Well, I guess one reason, you're going to die. It's not real. Oh, and here's why it's also unnecessary. The truth about spiritual paths, and then take a look. Like, what is a spiritual path? Isn't it true that it is a concept that's made up, that you heard about from somebody else? I'm pretty certain you did not make up your own path. You know, didn't you hear about it? And you're listening to this video in English, even so, right? Within a certain culture. And aren't there things that come along with not only the language you speak, the culture you live in, but then now a spiritual path that is within an English language, within a culture that whatever you're in, you see? And insert your language and culture here, right? So then what's actually true about the path? Well, it's made up. And again, referencing my previous video where I'm talking about how religion doesn't serve, belief systems don't serve the endeavor of investigating and actually getting conscious of what's true. The same seems to hold true of spiritual paths. It doesn't serve you being happy the way you are. Because you're on some path, perhaps, and maybe embedded in the path is the reason that you're on the path in the first place is that you think that you're somehow not good enough the way you are. So you're already suffering that. See? And then you might go along for, I don't know, how old am I? 38 years. Started Chengxin at 17, 18, so minus 38, 28, 20 years. Might go along for 20 years and then realize, oh, fuck, it's not going to work. My path isn't going to work to make me happy and whole and complete. Why? Because I'm going to die. And if I keep going the way I'm going, it hasn't worked so far. If your path hasn't worked so far and you've been at it for 10 years, you might want to consider a different way. If you're looking to get whole and complete, if you're just using your path to be better than other people or to think or to give you some meaning and purpose in your life, good. Enjoy the meaning and the purpose, but just know that it's made up. You made up that meaning. But make it a good one. I prefer the good ones to the bad ones. It just seems to feel better, that's all. See, but then how does the path, so now you can question, does your path serve you being complete now, immediately, done? Let's finish the job. Go ahead, you've been waiting this long to get complete. You've been using a spiritual path to try to heal yourself. Finish it. Do it now. Good, now you're done. Now, beer? Or and then I can imagine, maybe you have a certain path. Oh, I can't eat certain food because blah, 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 blah. Why not? You see? Now are you wrong for eating that kind of food? There's more suffering. See? Or just don't make yourself wrong for eating that food. Or don't eat the food. But don't make it about being right or wrong. Now, the only reason I say that is because it seems that inherent in thinking that I am somehow a wrong person or a right person, there is some suffering. And why? Why suffer? What's the point? What does it do for you? What's all that pain really about? Is it necessary? And that's perhaps one of the trickier parts that I've found in my own self is it's necessary. And what I mean by that is don't have a thought about what's necessary, like I'm thinking about necessary. It's the experience of necessary, the experience of need. We call something a need because it's a need. It's powerful. It has us under control as if we need it. When confronted with the truth, however, it turns out we do not need that stuff. You see? It's not necessary. It's not needed, and you won't die without it. Your body is a lot tougher than you think, probably. Unless you actually know how tough your body is. They're pretty tough. Okay? So then, in your investigations, if you are on a path and you want to look into it, if not, turn the video off, go have a beer for me or something, or eat a hamburger. Enjoy life. Go have some sex. You know what I mean? Because you won't care about the video. It's worthless and stupid. But if you want to look into what you're doing, and you do want to get rid of your own suffering or consider being free from a lot of crap you don't need, then I want to invite you to look into, if you are on a spiritual path, look into the places in that path where it's like you should be some way. And if you aren't that way, you're bad. What ways should you be? What ways is it wrong for you to be? How about other people? What ways should other people be? What ways is it wrong for them to be? See, how about your intimate partner? Talk about opening up a can of suffering. tons of crap with intimate partnerships. Don't get me started. I am no expert on that front, for sure. I mean, I can tell you about communication, and I can get you to grasp experientially the nature of relationship, but in terms of the minutia of relating, I've got ideas, but ideas and practice are two different things. See, but then consider your own stuff. Now, is there pain involved in your shoulds and shouldn'ts about that? Or do you beat yourself up? Or do you try to force yourself to be some way that you're not? Or fight in war with yourself? If any of those apply, I would want you to confront that there's, is there suffering there? Yeah? If there is, and you want that suffering to end, stop fighting yourself. Stop thinking that people should be some way. Stop thinking that you should be some way. Stop thinking that your spiritual path demands that you move in a certain direction. For what? Remember where it ends. It ends right here with you dying. That's where it ends, and it will end. And there's nothing past that. See? So then it kind of fucks up your spiritual path. Now, you might also have another linchpin in your experience where it's like, oh my God, if I don't have a spiritual path, or if I don't have that, then my life has no meaning. And this can be very threatening and very scary. And people use that for meaning. That's fine if you want to use the spiritual path for meaning. Go ahead if you need it. And maybe there's another way to create the meaning that you live within, or create the value that your life has, and do it consciously rather than just being driven by a program. This is another possibility. And in either case, you're invited to stop all the unnecessary suffering that goes along with having a particular path that demands that you be a certain way. I'm more in favor, in the work that I do, I'm more in favor of inviting you to consider how to create meaning, how to create a valuable life, how to show up powerfully, understanding what it is that creates freedom, that understanding that which creates power, so that you can choose to live powerfully or not, to create excellence or not, to have integrity or not, and also to understand, mostly to understand the consequences of what you create, because then you can have more power in doing so, because you understand it. In a simple example, it's like if you look under the hood of a car and you don't understand how the car works, you can't manipulate the car, you can't change it, you can't swap out the engine because you don't understand it. You see? Whereas a mechanic understands that, they can look under the hood of the car, they have a lot more power and capacity and control in what they have. Why? Because they grasp what it is. So then again, I'm inviting you to grasp what it is. See, because I remember, I have an intuitive sense. Again, I don't know if this is even accurate, but it's like I have an ex-girlfriend of mine. It's like she's definitely on a spiritual path, and I can see from the outside that she puts herself under all this pressure, clinging to a belief system about what's right and wrong. See, and then you might say, well, what if I don't have the belief system? I won't know right and wrong. I'm like, horse shit, you're not that dumb. People know right and wrong. You don't need a belief system for that. You can be taught right and wrong and just grasp, okay, yeah, this is a wrong thing to do. I don't want to do that. I'll do this instead. You don't need a belief system to tell you that. Now, if you do, that means that you are giving up your responsibility in the matter. That means that you are giving up control to something outside of you. You're saying, oh, I need to be told what to do, which most people want, if you take a look. Okay? So I want you to consider your own spiritual path. I invite you to consider there is no right spiritual path or wrong spiritual path or whatever. It's just what you're doing. And I want to invite you to understand what you're doing and understand. And if there is suffering, hey, cut it out. You don't need that shit. Find a way to let go of that or stop doing it because you don't need it. Right? And if you don't do that, you will not suffer those things. You'll probably suffer other things, but at least you can cut out a whole bunch and it will change your experience of yourself and life if you do that. All right? So thanks very much. I'm Brennan Lee. with thebrendanlee.com and Sport of Consciousness and Skill Worldwide, which is founded by Peter Ralston. If you want to get serious, if you want to get a little serious, check the links in the description. Got a free course, paid course, hire me to be an online coach. Most importantly, come to a workshop because that's the real deal. Videos can only get you so far. Yeah, and it's funny, I imagine in my mind, I can hear people like, yeah, I can get more from a video than I can from a workshop. I'm like, I have never seen that happen. Even reading books, like you read the Book of Not Knowing. No, people who read the books, they come to a workshop, still blows their mind. They still don't grasp it. You see? See how that goes? Guess it's different. You're just going to have to find out or not. Okay? So much love. Till next time. I'm Brendan Lee. Check the links. I'll catch you later. Keep up the hard work.